metadata and value of each properties of an object is represented by a simple object in JavaScript, and that simple object is known as property descriptor. Having an understanding of property descriptor is very important. That helps you to make a property maybe read only, to make a property not enumerable. So let us say that if you come across scenarios like, hey, I should not able to change value of this property, make this property read only. Let us say that you come across requirement where you only need to include certain properties from an object and send it to an API. These kind of requirements can be achieved very easily if you understand property descriptor of JavaScript objects. Property descriptor has three metadata properties: writable, enumerable, and configurable. Let us jump into the code and understand and learn about JavaScript property descriptor. Let us start with creating an object. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to create an object called product, and this object is going to have three properties. So title pane, price 100, and in stock true. So we have created an object, very simple object. Is object created as a literal. You can create object in other ways as well, using function constructor or using a class. So here I have created an object, and let's go ahead and print that object. So you say that console.log, and let's say that you say json.stringify and pass that product. Every properties of that project, that product object would get printed here. If you go ahead and print here, let's say console.log and product.price, if you print price of product, you should be able to get the price 100. Now what I'm going to do here I'm printing the price. So here you are getting price 100. Now let's go ahead and say product.price is equal to 200, and then again print this price here. So if you again print, you see that JavaScript allows you to change value of property after object is created. So when object was created, value of price was 100, which we are printing in line number 8, and you are getting 100 here. Then you are changing that value of price to 200, and again you are printing, and here you are getting that 200. And that is very much allowed in JavaScript. And why that is allowed, to understand that, let's go ahead, let us comment all this. And here call a function called Object.getOwnPropertyDescriptor, and here first parameter pass product, which is your object, and then as a second parameter you need to pass that property for which you want to read the descriptor. And here let us say we want to read descriptor of price. So here I'm saying that Object.getOwnPropertyDescriptor, then passing product, which is an object name, and the property name. Here we are working with price property. And now let's go ahead and print that. So console.log, and here I'm printing that. So here Object.getOwnPropertyDescriptor, product, and price. Now let's go and print, and here you see that when you print that, what JavaScript returns you. JavaScript returns you here, as you see that it has a value 100. Of course this price has 100 value. Then the writable is true, enumerable is true, and configurable is true. So by default all these metadata properties, writable, enumerable, and configurable, are set to true. And since this writable is set to true, it means you can rewrite value of that particular property. That property is not read only, it's writable, you can rewrite, which we are trying to do here, and successfully able to do that. So let's go ahead and uncomment it, and again if you run, you see that price is 100, and then you are changing price to 200, and then price is getting printed 200. Now you might have guessed that if by any way we are able to change this writable from true to false for price property, we should able to make that property read only. And let us try to do that, how we can do that. So here, to change these descriptors, you have Object.defineProperties. Define property and define properties both are there. We'll go with define property, and then not object, here we'll say that product.defineProperty, and your property name is price. This is, sorry, Object.defineProperty, and the first parameter is your product, which is the object. Then second is your property name. Here we are working with price, so say price. And then third parameter is that simple object, that descriptor object. And here we say that, hey, writable is false. So what we have done here, we are making writable of price to false. All right, so let's comment it here and again take this from here and print it. So to confirm we are able to change that writable property or not. All right, so what we are doing here, once again to revise that, we are changing this writable from true to false. And keep in mind that when you work with defined property, if this price property does not exist on the object, JavaScript creates a new property and then set those descriptor values. So here you see that for price, writable is true, and then we made writable to false. So now we are saying that, hey, this price property is a read-only property for product object. And to verify that, let's go ahead and uncomment it. And I'll uncomment that on property descriptor. So here we have made this writable to false for price. Take a step back and understand that we just made this writable to false. And then we are saying that, hey, print this. We are expecting this to print 100 because price is 100 here. Then we are trying to rewrite that price property's value to 200 and then again printing that. Let's see that how JavaScript behaves. So if I run, you see that I'm not able to change price value. It is still 100 and 100 because we have made this writable to false. And if you run, JavaScript is ignoring when you are trying to rewrite that value if writable property is set to false. So here to summarize that if you set writable property descriptor to false for a particular property, JavaScript ignores if you rewrite value of that property. And if you run this application in strict mode, so you say that, hey, use strict. If you run this in strict mode and try to change this, JavaScript complains about that. It tells you that, hey, cannot assign to read-only property price of object. So if writable is set to false and you are running your JavaScript in strict mode, JavaScript complains about that. It gives you error. And if your application is not running in strict mode and your writable is false and you are trying to change value of property, JavaScript simply ignores that, as you see here. So now I hope you understand what is purpose of writable property descriptor. Next is enumerable. Let's work with enumerable. So let us assume a scenario. Scenario is that you have here that you only need to, you don't need to send in stock to API. You need to send this product object to an API, or you need to work something on that. And you don't want to work with in stock. You want to ignore that. How would you do that? So for that, very first, let's go ahead and say that, hey, for let p in product. So I'm just iterating through, enumerating through the product object, and we can say that console.log and p. So here we are using for in and running. You see that it is showing you title, price, and in stock. So it is showing you all three properties. Now let's go ahead here and say Object.define properties. Work with more than one property. We'll go with define property here. Then product and in stock property. And here I'm saying that, hey, enumerable of that is set to false. So what I have done here, I'm saying that in stock property, which is here, and make that in stock property enumerable to false. Okay, now if you run this app here, you see that for in loop only shows you title and price. It does not show you in stock, because we have made enumerable descriptor of that property to false. Keep in mind that property still exists on the object. It's just you are not able to enumerate that. So here if you say that, hey, console.log and product.inStock, JavaScript should very much give you that value which is set to true. So that very much exists on the object, only you are not able to enumerate that. So for example here, if I go here and say that json.stringify, I'm stringify product here and printing that console.log, and when I print that, since in stock enumerable is set to false, it is not enumerable, and in json.stringify you only get title and price. So you see that you only get here title and price. So you can make enumerable false such that you ignore that property from being enumerated. Again, keep in mind that property is still part of the object. And if you want to verify that, I can say that console.log and object.has own property. So we'll say that object.has own property, and here not object, product.has own property, and here if you pass in stock, we should get true, because in stock still exists with that. And here we are getting true. If you pass something which does not exist, let's say Dhananjay, JavaScript gives you false for that, because there is no Dhananjay property on the product object. So I hope now this is clear to you that what is the purpose of enumerable. Enumerable, if you need to make sure that that property is not enumerable. Writable, if you need to make it read only. So you understood enumerable, you understand writable. Last is configurable. Now what configurable does is, here I say that product in stock, and if I say that, hey, configurable is false. So here I made this in stock configurable to false for price, and then what I'm going to do let's work with price. So here we are saying that configurable is, so object.define product price, and let's make this configurable to false. So we have made configurable to false. All right, and then again here we are trying to say that, hey, for price enumerable is false. We are trying to change that. Okay, so here we are making product price configurable false, and then let's say we are printing that product.price and then making price enumerable to false. Again here what I'm going to do, I'm going to print this before making that enumerable false. Okay, and delete that. All right, and here comment it as of now. So what we have done here what I have done is that I'm making that price configurable to false and printing that and json.stringify that product. So let's go ahead and print that. You see you are getting 100, and then you are getting title, price, 100 in stock, and true. Keep in mind that when you created that property, you have made that configurable to false. Now you are trying to make that enumerable to false and see what JavaScript tells you. So here, since configurable was false and we are trying to make enumerable false, it tells you cannot redefine property price because that configurable is set to false. So when configurable is set to false, only you can make, you cannot change any descriptor of that property with one exception. You can make a writable from true to false, only one. So even if this configurable is false and you say that, hey, make this writable to false, JavaScript does not complain about that. It allows you to make that, make writable true to false once. Okay, so here we are saying that object.define property price writable is false, and again you take this and say that object.redefine and make writable true. Here JavaScript complains about that, because if configurable is set to false, only you can make writable true to false once. You cannot make it true again, and here it is giving you error that cannot redefine property price. So I know it is a lot. You need to understand writable, you need to understand configurable, and you need to understand enumerable. And writable to make a property read-only, enumerable false to make a property not enumerable, and configurable such that you cannot change anything of that property. Also, the good approach is that when you create an object, so let's say that here you have created this object product, and instead of writing like that, you can say that okay, var product, and I would recommend that you add properties like this. You say that object.define property product, then add a property title, and then here you say that okay, the value is, let's say, pane, writable is false, enumerable is true, and configurable is false. So you can very much create a product object and then add a property, and this is the approach you should follow such that you have control on the behavior of property. So I hope you find this video useful. Please let me know that are you going to use this property descriptor in your application? Are you going to answer this question very confidently in your next interview? So thank you so much for watching this video. Please help me by subscribing and liking this video. Thank you.